I had one question I wanted to bring up when it comes to the use of all the antibodies. Daratumumab, we already mentioned, is becoming probably subcutaneous soon. And there are a lot of other antibodies in development, some of them also probably heading towards that. So from the payer perspective, what do you think about sub-Q versus IV? Is that a...
Well, you know, no, not really. I think I mean, there's going to be a reduced cost because you're not in an infusion chair, but I don't anticipate the cost of the drug is going to be any different. The benefits will accrue to the patient. They're both still administered by a physician, so the patient cost sharing should be very similar. So I think that, as we said, fewer infusion reactions, less chair time. Who would argue with that?
Right. Do you have any other perspectives on that?
Especially for elderly patients, this is a dramatic improvement because the infusion-related reactions are down. Yeah. And for younger patients, obviously, they are productive, they are at office or whatever. So getting a sub-Q in 10 minutes and going back to work is good.
Yeah, so here's a real question for you.
Yeah.
If this is safer and easier and faster, could we do this in the home?
So the patient's already asking about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, so I'm from Michigan, and if you have to travel 70 miles to get your infusion for a 5-minute sub-Q injection, can I do that in home? Is it safe enough in the future that we could do that under strict guidelines?
Many drugs, once you have gone through the threshold, like for immuno-oncology antibodies, typically first 2 infusions you have to monitor closely, and if they didn't have any infusion reaction, subsequent infusions have been without any infusion reaction, and we have been actually able to reduce steroids because there is a lot of steroids in the early phase of it. We've been able to reduce steroids aggressively for this patient. So that would be correct. That in that case, you know, there are some other sub-Q like bortezomib, etc. They never really took off in the as a home administration, far as I could tell.
Yeah.
You know, so I do not know how it develops in this fashion.
But bortezomib is a weekly sub-Q infusion, right, or injection? Yeah.
But I think it's a very important question you're addressing. I think there are obviously multiple aspects here, both the medical and probably liability and other things. If things go wrong, who's responsible and things like that.
Oh, we get a lot of drugs in the home today, including monoclonal antibodies. Remicade or infliximab is an example. Right. So if I've got a patient on DRD, the lenalidomide or Revlimid is oral, and the dexamethasone is oral too. Why do I need to come into the physician's office? I call it the tyranny of the face-to-face visit. We drag people into the physician's office because that's where physicians get paid. But if we could leverage the simplicity of that infusion or injection, excuse me, that sub-Q injection, why wouldn't we take it a step further?
So I think it's a great idea. I like it a lot. Yes. And I mentioned to you that the mass spec technology where you can screen 100 microliter of serum in 10 seconds and figure out if there is MRD or not. Why couldn't samples be collected and shipped to labs or things like that in the future? Maybe there could be even devices you could check at home. We don't know that, like a pregnancy test or so. Yeah. So the future is kind of exciting.